Leviticus chapter 25. The Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai. Speak to the people of Israel and tell them, when you enter the land I am giving you, let the land rest for the Lord every 7th year. For 6 years you shall sow your field, prune your vineyard, and gather in the produce. But in the 7th year the land shall have a Sabbath of complete rest, a Sabbath for the Lord. You shall not sow your field, nor prune your vineyard. You shall not reap the aftergrowth of your harvest, nor gather grapes from your untended vines. This shall be a year of complete rest for the land. But whatever it produces of itself during this Sabbath year will be food for you, for your male and female slaves, for your hired servant, and for the alien who lives with you. Its produce will likewise be food for your livestock and for the wild animals in your land. When 7 Sabbaths of years have passed, that is, 7 times 7 years, the time of the 7 weeks of years, there will be 49 years. Then, on the 10th day of the 7th month, you shall make a proclamation with a loud blow of the horn. On this day of atonement, blow the horn all through the land. Keep holy the 50th year and proclaim freedom for all the inhabitants of the land. It shall be a jubilee for you, when each one shall recover his property and go back to his family. In this 50th year, your year of jubilee, you shall neither sow nor reap the aftergrowth, nor gather the grapes from the untended vines. This jubilee year shall be holy for you, and you shall eat what the field yields of itself without cultivation. In this year of jubilee, each of you shall return to his own property. When you sell something to your neighbor, or buy something from him, do not wrong one another. According to the number of years after the jubilee, you shall buy it from your neighbor, and according to the number of years left for harvesting crops, he shall sell it to you. When the years are many, the price shall be greater, and when the years are few, the price shall be less. For it is the number of crops that he is selling to you. So you shall not wrong one another, but you shall fear your God, for I am the Lord your God. Follow my statutes and keep my laws. In that way you will live securely in the land. The land will yield its fruit, and you will have food in abundance and live securely in it. But if you ask, what shall we eat in the 7th year, if we do not sow or gather crops? I will send you my blessing in the 6th year, that it may produce enough for 3 years. So in the 8th year, the remains of the old crop will provide you with what to sow and to eat until the harvest of the 9th year is ready. Land shall not be sold in perpetuity, for the land is mine. With me you are but resident aliens and temporary settlers. Throughout the land where you own property, the right for the property to be bought back must be maintained. If one of your kin becomes poor and sells his property, his nearest relative shall have the right and duty to come and buy back what his relative has sold. If the man has no relatives to exercise this right of buying back his property, but later he himself has sufficient means to buy it back, he will calculate the value for the years since he sold it and refund the balance to the man to whom he sold it, and in that way he shall recover his property. But if he does not find the means to repay him, what has been sold shall remain with the buyer until the jubilee year, when it must be given back to its original owner. In the same way, if a man sells a house in a walled city, his right to buy back shall last until the end of a year from the time of its sale. his right of buying back lasts a whole year. If it is not redeemed by the end of a complete year, the house in the walled city shall belong permanently to the one who bought it and to his descendants, and it shall not revert to the original owner in the Jubilee year. Houses in villages which have no surrounding walls are considered as fields. They have redemption rights and shall revert to the original owner in the Jubilee year. As for the towns of the Levites, their houses belong to the Levites, and they have a permanent right to redeem what is bought from them. Any house in a town of the Levites shall revert to them at the time of the Jubilee, for the houses in the towns of the Levites are their possession among the Israelites. The pasture land belonging to their towns shall not be sold. It is their permanent possession. If your brother becomes poor and is unable to support himself, come to his aid, whether he is a resident alien or a temporary settler, so that he may live with you. Do not take interest from him, but fear your God, and let your brother live among you. You shall not lend him your money at interest, nor your food for gain. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, to give you the land of the Canaanites, and to be your God. If your brother becomes poor and sells himself to you, you shall not make him work as a slave, but let him remain with you as a hired servant and a temporary settler, and work for you until the year of Jubilee. He shall then leave you, he and his children with him, and return to his own family and to his ancestral property. For they are my servants whom I brought out of the land of Egypt, and they shall not be sold as slaves. Do not lord it over them, but fear your God. As for the male and female slaves, it is from the nations around you that you are to buy them. You may also buy them from among the temporary settlers who live with you, and from their families born in your land, and they will be your property. So you may leave them to your children as inherited possessions and make them slaves for life. But regarding your Israelite brethren, you must not lord it over them. If a resident alien or temporary settler becomes prosperous, and one of your brothers becomes so poor as to sell himself to him or to a member of his family, the Israelite shall have the right to buy back. Any of his brothers has the right to buy him back, or his uncle, or the son of his uncle, or a near relative may buy him back. If he becomes rich, he has the right to buy his own freedom. He shall reckon with his buyer from the time he sold himself until the Jubilee year, and the price of his sale shall correspond to the number of years as though he had been hired as a day laborer. If many years remain, he shall be reckoned at the price of a hired servant, according to the number of years. If he has been bought back when many years remain, he shall refund out of the price paid for him, according to the remaining time. If only a few years remain until the Jubilee year, he will calculate and refund accordingly. He shall be with him as a servant hired year by year, and he shall not be harshly dealt with. If he has not been bought back in any of these ways, he shall be released in the Jubilee year, he and his children with him. For the people of Israel are servants to me. They are my servants whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God.